and we are launching our stream. I really hope that it works and that we are live. My dear friends, it's so good to see you again. My name is Operator Starsky. Apparently you know me. And today I'm joined with my good friends. They are both my really good friends, Sergej and Max. We have a lot of Maxes in our brigade. And you know my other Max, who is my buddy press officer. And this Max is also my buddy, and we served together, however, in different battalions. So, my friends, maybe you can introduce yourself. Sergej, let's start with you.
Oh, hey, thank you. It's a huge honor to be here, to be your guest. And I came to Ukraine in 2015 to work for a German institution, for a German political foundation, Heinrich Böll Foundation. My contract ended in 2021. But after I came back to Berlin, I realized that the large war is coming. And that's how I have realized that I must stay with Ukraine. And I came back. And since 2022, me and my organization, European Resilience Initiative Center, supports Ukraine and raise donations for Ukraine, for the needs of Ukraine. We have already raised almost 2 million euro for the needs of Ukrainian units mostly. And I'm absolutely happy to say that the 4th Rubizh Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine is one of our key partners in Ukraine, which we have supplied already with a lot of equipment. And I hope very much that we will be able to supply even more equipment to this absolutely legendary brigade. I'm so happy to be here, your guest, Andrei, Maxim, two legendary people who I very proud am being familiar with. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. It's a true honor to have you here, and also it's a true honor to have you, Max. Can you tell us a couple of words about yourself?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's a big pleasure to stay together with you today. Well, it's very interesting to see you, Andrei, without uniform, and just like when we are talking to you, like not just a military bodies, but in the stream. Yeah, my name is Max. I'm ex-civil guy. I'm head of government relations department of Samsung, Ukraine. At the very beginning of this war, I was planning to join a battlefield outside the country, but I have turned my car to Makarev and stay there. So I participated in the battles in Kiev. And after injury I got, I've joined Brigade Rubizh because I had a pleasure to cooperate with these guys during the battlefields in Kiev. They were absolutely amazing, and when I was thinking that I want to join the army, the Rubizh was my choice number one. And yeah, I am hope that we all together will help to supply our brigade with the drones, because now basically the drones are the major power on the battlefield.
Thank you so much. Sergej, you know, I was surprised because I know you for quite a long time, probably more than a year. And I know that you contribute a lot in delivering drones, and you deliver drones yourself to our guys, to different Ukrainian brigades. But I was surprised to learn from our mutual friend at the HARMATA Foundation that you also support my own brigade, where I served for almost 8 years. How did you come up with this idea? And generally speaking, what got you into this whole thing? Like one day you just decided that I'm going to bring the drones to the front. How did it happen?
Well, it happened exactly like that. None of my friends who are involved in support of Ukraine, and none of my Ukrainian friends who are serving in the army, none of them, really none, grew up with the idea, okay, I will do this, I will raise donations for Ukrainian army, or I will bring trucks to the front, or I will build drones or anything, or that I will take a machine gun in my hands, like many Ukrainian friends did, and go to the front. I recently spoke to Alina Sarnatska, who is a great person, a Ukrainian war veteran who served for 2.5 years in Ukrainian army, 207th Territorial Defense Battalion. And she told me exactly that. She told me serving in the army was the last thing she imagined. She was a 100% civilian person before. And on 5th March of 2022, she had to volunteer because Russians came to kill her and her friends and family. And for me, like, look, I'm a German citizen who was born in the Soviet Union, had my Russian citizenship for the certain time. I quitted it in 2012, and since then I'm only a German citizen. And I worked for 6 years in Ukraine, being a director, country director of German Heinrich Böll Foundation. And you know what I love to do? I love to ride my bicycle, to cook food, to travel through Ukraine, to learn new people, to chat, to use Facebook, Twitter, etc. Nothing more. That was what was made me happy. And then the Russians decided to bomb cities where my friends lived, to expel my friends from their houses. I had a lot of friends in Mariupol. Some of them have died, were killed by the Russians. Some of them are missed. We don't know where they are. And in this situation, you just say, okay, I can just ignore it and pretend that everything is fine, and I continue living in Berlin, or I can go to the country where I spent 6 years of my life, where I learned so many people, where I have so many friends, where I had my happy and very sad hours, and do what my German government, decides not to do. Because back then, Olaf Scholz was hoarding tanks and IFVs, saying that delivery of IFVs to Ukraine would trigger nuclear war. What a bullshit! A total idiotic stance. Absolutely amoral. I think this man is amoral person. Absolutely amoral, terrible person. And then I said, okay, if I cannot push my government to do it, and I tried to do it for the first time. I called my friends and colleagues from the Green Party. I did that, and until April 22, nothing happened. And I said, okay, I will raise donations. And then the first donations were for power stations. The second wave of donations was for medicine equipment and technical medicine. And then Alina Sarnatska, who was a person who received the first batch of technical medicine, told me, Sergey, we need drones. And that's how the drone story started. I said, okay, what are drones? What are drones? What are the characteristics? How you bring them over the border? What to do? Then I said FPV drones, etc. And that's how it started. I never regretted it. It's the best thing in my life, which I ever did. The best thing, the most correct and moral thing I have ever done in my life.
Thank you so much. And right now I'm trying to return to our view. Okay, here we have Max, and here we have Sergej. Okay, just as it was in the beginning. Max, from your side, this goal, 1,000 drones for the brigade, what kind of impact can it have on the battlefield?
Well, 1,000 drone will allow my guys to actually survive. You know, we did very nice statistics last year when there was the moments when my units were staying at one of the directions, and we have very small quantity of drones. Basically, we were keeping them only for very, very specific missions like direction, bringing people out of the trenches, so for very specific things. and we have found that basically we had pretty big quantity of wounded people. But another deployment on other directions, I said myself that I'm doing everything that I possible in this world to find and equip my guys with drones as much as I can. And at that time, they were completely full. And guess what? My guys almost did not have cases when they were fighting with their own guns. So the FPVs kept Russians away from our positions. And as a result, we had almost 60% less wounded people. So if we imagine that we will concentrate this quantity of the drones on the direction where brigade is staying, basically we will save lives of lots of very good professionals, very good Ukrainians and European guys that are in the nature pacifists, that they don't really want to fight and they don't want to have this war, and they will come back home. So I think 1,000 drones, it will be pretty powerful supply and empowerment of the brigade, and not just to try to damage somebody. We will literally decrease the quantity of wounded soldiers at the battlefield.
I wanted to ask this. What is the reason we decided to start this fundraiser right now? Because I think that you, Max, can explain it better than anybody else.
Well, very obvious. Despite the negotiations are running by the United States, Russian forces are pushing hard, and I would say the last few weeks they starting to do it much harder. The Mono-Kupinsky direction where we're staying right now became pretty hot. It became red dot, and we are facing every day increasing of the quantities of the attempts to attack our positions. And for now, potentially we may also expect that the aid from the partners could be less. And we had this experience last year when the United States blocked pretty big quantity of support, and especially 155 shells. And the drones at that time, basically they kept the front line. So we will give a possibility to our forces to exchange for shells to drones and make more maneuvers to the front line, to the forces of my brigade. And basically to receive a good result on the negotiations, we got to stay firm on the directions where we are, and not letting, and basically we need to demonstrate to Russians that they will not go further. And the drones would be very, very effective measure and empowerment for negotiations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we should always have, some kind of leverage to use as a tool in negotiations, but also save lives and protect our guys, because this is exactly what we are doing right now. Sergej, I wanted to. I'm calling you Sergej, in a Ukrainian manner because.
Yeah, and I love it, because when I came to Ukraine in 2015, my German name, as it was, of course, is taken from my old passport, my old Russian passport, when I was naturalized in Germany. And in this German passport, it's written like what we say in Germany. It has been pronounced as Sergej. And Sergej is practically the German way of pronouncing what is written in my passport. And when I got my Ukrainian entry visa, which is a necessary step before you get a residence permit, it was transcribed into Ukrainian in a very weird way. It was transcribed as Sergej, and which none of Ukrainians could pronounce, because it just sounds and it's written weird. and but it was in my documents. And now I got I have re-entered Ukraine now with another national visa, because I'm now based between Berlin and Kiev, and I insisted that in my documents, in my residence permit, etc., it's written as Sergej, a Ukrainian version of this name, because I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it when I'm called Sergej in Ukrainian. Okay, in German, okay, in English also okay. There is no such like emotional. Bad connotant, but in Ukrainian it's only Sergej. That's why I really love that you have used that version. Thank you so much. It is for me a sign of trust, and I value it a lot.
Another thing that surprised me actually was when we met for the first time last year in Berlin with Jonathan Fink, by the way. I think a lot of my viewers know him. You spoke Ukrainian language so easily, and when I read like your name on the internet, right, I was, why Sergey? Why don't you why do you use this Russian way of pronouncing your name? But anyways, I wanted to ask, what is the hardest part of getting those drones where they need to go? Is it logistics or money or bureaucracy? What can you tell us about this?
Well, first of all, we need to understand that when we talk about drones, we need to understand that a drone itself is a multi-purpose platform. You can practically use a drone for a lot of purposes. You can use it for like we have seen all these videos. There are ways to use drones for strikes, bombers, or kamikaze things. That is pretty much spread all across the front line. But you also can use drones for other purpose. You can transport things to the soldiers or to civilians. You can transport blood, which is needed for transfusion. You can transport medikits. You can transport water, which is extremely important for soldiers who cannot get to their positions because they can be killed by artillery fire, because of minefield, or because of other reasons. You can also spot landmines. You can make video observation of the area. You can also help to bring like all the things. You can use them as retranslators for signal, etc., etc. So it is actually what you need a lot to save a lot of lives. And that's why when I say our drones save lives, it's not a joke. Because many people say, "Oh, yeah, it's like tongue in the cheek thing, drone saving lives, ha ha ha." No, they save lives in all possible ways of thinking it. And Ukrainian units need drones. Ukrainian units are the best drone piloting units, and we need to support these fantastic soldiers to do their job. And regarding your question, how is it easy or not easy to bring drones to Ukraine? First, drones are mostly being produced in Ukraine. It's funny to see how massive the surge of drone production has happened in Ukraine. Last year, President Volodymyr Zelensky said they need to produce 1 million drones in Ukraine per year. In the first year, this result has been doubled. Ukraine has produced 2 million drones last year. And now Ukraine produces up to 5 million drones per year. Just imagine 5 million drones. And last year, most components for the drones were of Chinese origin. Now Ukraine produces a lot of their own parts, also cameras, flight controllers, other details. So it is a huge, huge surge of technology. And what we need to understand now, it's not about how we bring drones to Ukraine, because FPV drones don't get brought to Ukraine. They got produced in Ukraine. What gets brought to Ukraine are the off-the-shelves expensive drones like Mavic, DJI Mavic drones or Autel drones. They still get imported from China. And yes, they get brought to Ukraine, but for that, there is a standard import procedure. What is important, Ukraine develops in Ukraine and produces in Ukraine. all possible types of drones. We can talk about it later because there is an amazing surge of technology. Drones which can identify target, if we talk about FPV attack kamikaze drones. Drones which can resist electronic warfare by switching frequencies. Drones which can resist electronic warfare by using fiber optic cable, etc. And drones that can be brought by carrier mother drones to the position, and it is what many Western armies do not imagine, that these things exist. It's I always say our Western armies are now on the same level of technology development like the armies of Middle Eastern countries, or like some Middle East, were facing machine gunners of the British Army in the late 19th, early 20th century. And I'm afraid that if we miss this development, our armies in the West can be exactly wiped out by the armies which have FPV drones experience, like the rebels in the Middle East were wiped out by the British machine gunners in 1890s, 1910s.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question to Max, by the way, which is related to your question. As a military, from a military standpoint, would you say that we currently have a big advantage over Russians in terms of using drones? And if so, how crucial is this advantage at this point?
Well, I don't really think that we have a huge advantage right now because Russia, unfortunately, is not staying at the one place. And as we believe that it's a big rumor that Russians are bad fighters or very undeveloped, they are running pretty fast. And yes, we have started this flash mob with FPV drones. However, they took it on their weaponry and they doing it pretty good. So, but what's the difference? The major difference that what we can find out of the battlefield, the quality. We have better quality drones, and we are a little bit further in technologies that we're using. I cannot say right now all about those technologies. We are a little bit stepping ahead, but where we are losing the game is a scale. Russians are pretty fast to put those drones onto the scale. So what we started this game with wire drones. Russians, they took this idea and put it on the scale. So we face them much more from their side rather than from the other side, from us. However, we started using drones more effective because I think it would be a very big rumor, I would say, when they're saying that the FPV drones are only used for strikes. But in reality, we are using them way broader. That not only that what was Sergej is telling, right now, basically what is happening in the sky, the front line, it's a robot's battlefield. So one robot's coming to our territory to correct missiles, and the other robots, the drones from the other side, from our side, is going up to destroy them. So basically, right now, what we're seeing that it's a robotic war, where in the skies two robots are fighting one to each other. Very big percentage of identifying wounded guys. I mean, locals. It means the soldiers and civil people are playing drones because some quantity of civil population cannot go away from the city where the Russians are attacking. It's due to logistics or due to some maneuvers that Russian forces are pushing, and people could be stuck. And it is very dangerous to send somebody there to find, to locate, or to navigate these people to go away. However, with the drones, we can identify those people. We can send the drone and move them out from the dangerous point, and then where we can meet people and take them away to this safe place. And I would say that works, I would say like good 50%. We're using this a lot, and that's why the quantities we're talking about. So that's what we cannot identify from the Russian side. Like, how do they use it beside of trying to kill us? However, we broadened this thing of usage of these drones way broader than just to send it and strike. So right now, basically, it's our eyes, it's our navigators, it's navigators for civil people, it's navigator for wounded, and yes, we doing a lot of supplies. For example, just a couple of days ago, we had a situation in a brigade where we awarded our guys that they have found the way how to deliver water and food to the civil people who stuck, and we're seeing that like nobody, we just cannot get there. However, we need to do something with these guys because they are Ukrainians, and basically our guys from FPV team, they started to put water, some food to the drones like a bombers, and they're flying, throwing to the one spot, and civil guys understood this thing, and with the little Ukrainian flags, we marked the food, we marked the water, and we were sending for a week up until we understood how we can evacuate those people safely. So that's the usage, the example of the Ukrainian usage of the drones, because they are all different with the different capacities and capabilities. However, I would say, like, answering your question, that basically we are better in usage. However, we are struggling with the quantities.
I understand. And, it's so interesting to see generally the trends, right, in using those drones. Of course, we know how Ukrainian defenders use those drones against Russians, but at the same time, we can see those human safaris happening in Kherson, for example. It's a topic highly underreported in the media, unfortunately. And there is still footage that can be found on the internet of Russians hunting children on the streets using FPV drones and things like that. At the same time, we can see that Ukrainians not only use drones directly to defend their lives against Russians, but also we use our drones to evacuate our wounded, and which is also very important to deliver humanitarian aid to the civilian population locked in some of the areas. From your standpoint, what are the biggest challenges that our guys are facing at the front at this point?
I think I will sound, like maybe ridiculous, but the drones. That's the problem, because the scaling of Russian drones is so big, and the biggest menace right now, like, if I would remember the 22nd, when we were moving into the positions here in Kiev, and even we were in total occupation, it was pretty easy. I was thinking that it was nightmare, but it was pretty easy, because now we have a biggest problems to enter the positions and to take people away, and more difficult right now even to evacuate our wounded soldiers, because what they do, basically, they are trying to locate some unit or some group. They try to wound somebody, and then their drones are waiting up until some technique will come or medics will come, and then they're increasing their attacks. So the only thing that what can be done, it's anti-drone work, the jammers, and quantities of the drones that basically that they would not be able to approach, because right now, as everything is developing, the jammers are developing as well. So like if if when we were starting, we could start flies from 5-kilometer zone. Now this zone narrows, so they need to come closer because they need to have better connection or use modified wire drones, and the same as we are. And now everything is going closer and closer. So the biggest problem from from their side, when we are looking at the battlefield, that the quantity of the drones they can concentrate on the one point. And for example, Kherson is very good example, because right now people at the specific zones of the city, they just cannot walk. You cannot walk there, you cannot drive there, because they are not basically identifying who there is in the camera, whom they see. They see somebody, they fly and kill, because they have quantities and they don't really care who is in the camera. Is it the civil guy, or is it the military guy, or it's combatant? Yeah, if we're saying with the terminology of martial law. That's the biggest problem, because we are still trying to save the drones we have, despite that Ukraine in reality increased their capacity in production. So we started to receive the drones from the government, but the quantity of their drones are bigger. So we need to find a way how to supply more.
And that is interesting that Russians switched to producing more drones. On one hand, of course, looking at Ukraine's success in utilizing those drones on the battlefield, but on the other hand, literally because they're running out of shells. Can you confirm this fact that the amount of Russian shellings decreased dramatically over time, comparing to like 2022, 2023?
Yes, absolutely. That's true, and they changing that for drones as well.
Mm-hmm. Sergey, what was the craziest place you've been to when you were delivering those drones to Ukrainian defenders in Donbass, maybe some other places?
Well, for me personally, it was, of course, Russia. It was Sudzha in Kursk Oblast.
Kursk Oblast of Ukraine.
Kursk Oblast of Russia. That is. I think nobody in Ukraine, or most people in Ukraine, don't want to annex any part of Russia. It's not needed. Yes, historically, this area of Russia is related to Ukraine. It were Ukrainian regions which have been taken from Ukraine in 1920s, and we know that even in Belgorod, after the October Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, the first Belgorod Soviet authorities, they addressed the population in Ukrainian, because population was Ukrainian speaking. And city of Sudzha and other cities, the Rilsk in Kursk Oblast, they were all Ukrainian speaking. I remember how a former Ukrainian ambassador to Austria, Alexander Sherba, his grandmother was from the region, and he explained me once that when he visited as a child his grandmother in Rilsk, and then his grandmother brought him to the river shore and told him, look, Sashko, here on this shore, we Ukrainians live. And over the river, there are Moskals. So these are like Ukrainian lands historically, but once again, there is no need for Ukraine to annex anything. For Ukraine, it's important to defeat Russia, to demilitarize Russia, and to bring peace to Ukrainian land. But for me, as for a person who was born in Russia and who used to get in Soviet Union, but in Russian part, who used to have my Russian citizenship for a long time of my life, until 2012, as I said before, it was a very good feeling, a very happy feeling to come with Ukrainian army to the city of Sudzha, town of Sudzha, as a German citizen with Ukrainian army there, helping Ukraine to establish long-lasting, stable peace. And I think that is also one of the reasons why I do it, because it's my task to repay debts, my personal debts and debts of two of my countries, my motherland by birth, Russia, and my motherland by choice, Germany. Because both of these countries have tried to eliminate Ukrainian nation in a very basic way, pure genocide, pure genocide. Just kill Ukrainians and eliminate Ukrainian nation, eliminate Ukrainian culture, erase it. That's what Russia did for centuries. That's what Germany tried to do in World War II, with all slave work, with all destruction of towns, with mass killing of Ukrainian people of all ethnic groups, Ukrainians, Jews, Roma people, everyone. And that's a terrible part of the history of Germany, which many in Germany prefer to ignore, saying that we had war against Russia. No, you didn't have war against Russia. This war was mostly played on the territory of nowadays Ukraine, Belarus, Baltic countries, not nowadays Russia. And that's why for me it was personally one of the strongest feelings to come to Suja and to say, okay, Sergej, you're trying to repay debts of you and your ancestors. And yes, that's it. But for those who are watching it, don't forget to donate for 1,000 drones of the 4th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, Rubizh. You have links to donations in the description of this video. You can donate via PayPal, or you can donate via bank transfer. If you do via bank transfer, information for wiring is also in the description. You please add the word Rubizh for the donation, so we can identify this donation as one for Rubizh drones. And those who donate from Germany, you also may use, you go via bank transfer, you also may add your address, and if you donate 200 euro or more, you get Spendenbescheinigung. That is important for the German donors, because only for Germany it's possible to issue the Spendenbescheinigung, a tax deduction certificate. And if you donate for Ukraine, I personally think you are entitled for that, and you need to get your money back partially. So if you want, you can donate more for Ukraine in this case. So, and thank you, Operator Starsky, for this amazing opportunity to raise donations using your stream platform.
Thank you so much, my friend. And I think it's very important for other people who were born in Russia and live on the territory of Europe, and generally even those, who watch our streams from the Russian territory, which I really doubt, because they're throttling the YouTube there and stuff, trying to stop the freedom of speech there completely. But I think that it's very important for other people to hear that even people that were born in Russia, they support Ukraine, and they do amazing things like donating hundreds and thousands of drones to Ukrainian soldiers, to Ukrainian defenders, and not only drones, but also doing other initiatives. Which, by the way, I wanted to ask you.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. It's really an important like thing which I think I need to stress again and again. Russia is an empire. It's an imperialist construct. It was born as an empire. It acts as an empire. It lives as an empire. And I can tell you, as a person who was born there and was raised there in this ideology, it is an imperialistic ideology which only can exist by expansion and violence. And there is no duty more important now for any European than to stop Russia and to help Ukraine to win this war. There can be no negotiation, no compromise, no nothing, because you cannot compromise with an entity which was created 300 years ago in 1721 by Peter I, as an empire without clearly defined borders. The concept that Russia doesn't have borders was not developed by Putin recently in his speech. It was first developed by Russian classic poet Fyodor Tyutchev in 18th century, in the 19th century, sorry, 19th century. And before by Peter I, de facto, the concept was the same, as the borders of empire have never been defined. And that's why I think it is one of the most important things for every supporter of Ukraine to understand, that military defeat of Russia is not only what is needed, it is what is good and moral for everyone in this world. For everyone in this world. That's why any person who wants to achieve something good in their life, they must support Ukraine, Ukrainian army, Ukrainian nation in this fight. It is moral, it is needed, it is important.
I absolutely agree with you, my friend. One very important thing that you said, that this is a moral thing for all Europeans if they want security for their future generations, to ensure the security, they should help Ukraine, because they not only help Ukraine, they help themselves. And I really, really hope that our colleagues on the other side of the ocean, I'm not talking about the people, because amazing people from the United States, as well as Canadian viewers, by the way, they watch us here. But unfortunately, in the administration, they recently had some serious issues with understanding what happens in reality. I'm not really sure why they're so much disconnected about this, because after yesterday's horrific strike on Kryvyi Rih, by the way, not 6, but already 9 kids died, unfortunately, due to this strike. And YouTube removed my community post dedicated to this, because apparently I violated some kind of policy, which I didn't clearly. But even after this happened, the ambassador of United States to Ukraine mentioned that, yeah, she was horrified by this strike, but she blamed the strike. She didn't blame the people who committed this strike. She didn't. She blamed the crime, but she didn't blame the criminals, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. You know, it just underlines the impotency that became an agenda apparently in the current administration. I wanted to ask Max, what do you personally and the guys feel about what's happening right now in the United States? Currently, you're not talking as a representative of the National Guard, but as literally yourself and the guys.
Well, this is what I just like was thinking while you were talking, because I can really confirm about American people. They are great. I mean, I received so much messages of support, that they were stating like, don't look at our president. We are with you. We're supporting. We're helping. And in terms of my brigade, the aid from the United States, I mean, personal from some foundations, from personal donors, increased. So people of America are really great, and they support us, and we can feel it. We have recently received some very nice goodies from the United States people. However, like, we are the soldiers. We are not having time to judge the president of the United States. We are doing our duty. We are protecting our homeland. And some, of course, messages from the higher officials of the states was absolutely ridiculous, specifically about judging and firing high officials of Ukraine. And this is what I want to say, like from the point of view, like from the internet and from the guys, like, hey guys, like, listen, we are we are choosing our president, and this is Ukrainians who have chosen, and only we can fire our president. And this is not your business. It's only our job. And like, is it good? Is he bad? It doesn't. It's not a point of view of the United States or the other country. This is our guy. He's our president. We support him, and only we will judge and decide when he should leave his chair. And that's really important to understand, that here Ukraine is fighting for freedom, and if somebody from the high officials will not satisfy Ukrainians, we have demonstrated that we will push this guy out. And we can do this. And now I think we can do it even better, because now we are not just people who were staying in the Maidan in 2014 and letting ourselves like to shoot from Russian snipers. We are professionals right now. Like in 20 seconds, I was just a guy who just loved Ukraine. Now I am a professional that can protect my country. And we will do anything what is needed, but when we decide it. And this is only about Ukrainian people. But I wanna stress one thing. It is really important to understand that I have lots of colleagues from Europe, from the United States, that have been working in the business. And we had lots of discussions about, like what we need to find a way how to make Russia to become peaceful or to stop these things. The biggest mistake of the Western society is trying to understand Russia as civilized European people. This is the biggest mistake that United States are doing right now, because they think that they can do a deal because they are discussing with the party that have values, that believes in something, and they can offer something. But that's the biggest problem. You cannot tear Russia from China, because Western civilization is way more further from Russia than China, because in fact they are not Europeans. There's different people with a different mindset that are not really believe in God, not really believe in bad, in evil, not really believe in everything what they're saying. The biggest motto of Russians are just, we don't care. They really don't care. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about their country. Look, this is the biggest country on the planet. They have absolutely everything. They can build the best country at the planet that will literally buy United States. But they're not doing. If they have so much resources that they are not using properly. And the only what they can offer in the 21st century is to kill lots of Ukrainians because they believe that Soviet Union is a mistake. Like, what's the logic in everything of that? It's nothing. And what you have in Europe in the churches, like you have some holy things, that you come to church to pray, to have, to find a peace. And this is basically what we are doing here in Ukraine. But we are not having Nazis suits and hats in the churches. I mean, that's ridiculous. Look, if we have something holy in the church and we want to pray to something, like why they are keeping these things in their churches? So that's the thing, because they trying to mix everything, like Soviet Union, what was absolutely atheistic, and now they're trying to put this mythical win in the Second World War and put it into the church. So basically we can understand and see that they don't really believe in God, because they mix things. They just use this to grow their empire, but they don't have a mission. What's the vision of the Russia? They are declaring like denazification of Ukraine. What is this? I mean, like what the hell is that? How you can even imagine, like, what is the mission of this, like, denazification of Ukraine? How is that? I mean, like Sergej can prove that it is just impossible to denazificate things that are not nazified. I mean, these terms, even that they are trying to push into the society, they are ridiculous. They don't have any, not just even proofs, but they don't have even logic. So it is really important to understand that basically we are facing right now in the 21st century very big menace, very evil and violent, that do violence and kills just because they can. And yesterday's strike was a very good example. They are stating to the United States that they are literally not respecting them. Like, President of the United States thinks that he is doing a deal, but in reality, they are laughing. Russia is literally laughing from United States. They say, like, okay, we want to have a deal, let's discuss, and then they do the strike. Like, look, you cannot do anything to us. And this is important to understand to all European society, that we are facing very big evils, which have no even ideology. They don't have mission. They don't have vision. Even Nazi Germany was pretty clear. They were building new society. These guys are destroyers. So if they closer to European countries, this cancer will grow. And it is really important to stop this thing, because if we try to make them peace by any type of agreements, selling some territories, I'm telling you, in a couple of years, you will decide to sell Spain or Portugal just to make them peaceful. But everything what they can offer you is poorness, violence, no democracy, and that's absolutely unacceptable for me and for my guys. And that's what we were stating very firmly, that we're not going away. This is basically what was my motivation in 22nd. When I was just a civil guy with a double barrel and 4 shots, and I had no clue what to do, because there was the columns of Russian armor technique and hundreds of soldiers. However, I decided, like, clearly that nobody will take my right to be free, to think free, to love everything what I want, and I want, and more important right now is just like going back to the politics, freely to choose my president and fire him by the will of the country, and nobody will take it from us. And that's why we are looking at the United States like, okay, let's wait up until they open their eyes. You know, like Winston Churchill said once, very wisdom thing, that the United States will definitely once upon a time make a right decision, but first they will do a lot of wrongs.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I would really like to understand one thing. If there is like a person in the White House that delivers the recent reconnaissance data to current president, because I have such an impression that this person either doesn't exist or is forbidden to enter the president's office. Because when they speak about like 5,000 Ukrainians surrounded in Kursk, which we're still looking for, you know, we're still trying to establish contact with those guys. Maybe they need water, or I don't know, food or something. Or when, you know, one thing that triggers me still is when J.D. Vance calls what happened in Bucha, when he calls that a propaganda. That is, you know, after Max, have you been to Bucha, by the way, to that place?
Well, yeah, in 22nd we did some recon missions there. So I was basically the witness of lots of crimes that they were doing here, but they just like came to my home. And you know, this is what I was in the biggest shock first week, I think, because I just could not believe that I've seen so many just killed people. The Bucha is not only the place where they were doing crazy things. Motijan, they were killing people and hanging them in the trees. I mean, when I've seen this picture, I just didn't believe my eyes. Like really? Like how there, I mean, like on earth possible of doing something like this, especially if you're coming to free people. Andriivka, they killed just all male population of this small village. In Makariv, people were at the same like as Bucha, people were laying down the streets and the cars, and they were shot down by just Russians because they were, I don't know, moving, running, because like of course people were afraid and they were trying to escape. And for me it was crazy shock, and there I realized that with what evilness we are actually dealing. They hate us. I mean, and I'm not saying like Ukrainians. They hate you guys, Germans, French, Canadians, United States. They literally hate you. They when they coming and putting money in your banks, they still hate you. They still believe that they needed bombs. But what's the mindset of this thing? It's ridiculous. But here, unfortunately, in Bucha was not only the one place. That's the thing. Lots of course, communication. Bucha was horrible. However, around the Bucha, there was villages just killed by Russians just because they were able to. And I'm still cannot understand how it is possible to, like, what exactly you are following. I mean, do you really want to have this population? So why are you killing them? So that's the problem of this war we are having right now in Ukraine. That we are facing violence and hate, I think, much more bigger than Second World War was, because they not hate some specific people, yeah, like maybe on the nation, they believe that they just hate everybody. So we cannot make a deal with these guys. It's just impossible, like that's what we're looking at United States and guessing like when they're gonna realize that they will understand that it is just impossible to have a deal with a mad animal.
Yeah, I agree. And again, from a military standpoint, peace is not part of Russian strategy. That's just that. It's easy. Peaceful negotiation, ceasefire is not part of Russia's strategy. Russia didn't invade Ukraine because they wanted peace. They didn't start killing people in Bucha, in Izum, Kherson, in Mariupol because they wanted a ceasefire with Ukrainians. They wanted to destroy Ukraine as a nation. They wanted to eliminate Ukrainian identity this way. They don't want peace, not because Ukraine provokes or like Russians don't. No, Russians don't need it. It's not part of their strategy. Putin didn't include it in his geostrategical goals. Therefore, it's something that he doesn't need. It's something really, really unnecessary to him. Sergey, I have another question for you. Why did you decide to work closely with our brigade? What makes our brigade special to you personally?
Well, first of all, I came to your brigade via you. You know the answer to the for your question better than I do. And I remember how we met one day, and you explained your experience as a soldier back then, early this full scale war. And then I thought, okay, that is really a unit which I want to cooperate with, because when we raise donations for drones, we provide these drones to Ukrainian units. So that's what I do since over 2 years. And there is always a dilemma for which brigade you raise donations and which brigade gets drones, because there are definitely more units who want to get drones than are our capacities to produce or to purchase these drones. And yes, we have raised around 2 million euro since late 22, but it's not few money, but it's by far not enough to address every single request which we get. So it can sound like a bit cynical, but when you think more about it, it's a very moral decision to support the best units. And people say, okay, why don't you support units who are not that good? Because they need drones. Say, okay, we have very limited resources. We want to be sure that our drones, which we deliver, that they not get lost because pilots don't have experience. Or because they don't use these drones very much, or because the drones are not incorporated in their military doctrine of this unit. And that's why we look and find the best of the best units, and we cooperate with the 47th Mechanized Brigade, Magura, 92nd Achilles Battalion back then, now Regiment, 92nd Brigade Ivan Serko, 93rd Brigade Холодный Yar, 225th Separate Assault Regiment, 505 Separate Marine Battalion, and Rubizh. Because Rubizh are so good, you have been trained well, you have demonstrated that you fight very well, you can hold the front line when almost nobody can. And we know that when we bring our drones to you guys, this is the best investment in return. We get the best return on investment in the sense of you don't lose your drones, like because you don't fly them well, and the result is always good. And that is why we have decided to do it. And once again, for those who listen to us, don't forget to donate for Rubizh drones. You can find links, PayPal, and bank transfer information in the description of this video. Thank you, Operator Starsky, for you have created this video channel today for this donation campaign. And yes, Rubizh are just amazing people, absolutely amazing. We at the European Resilience Initiative Center, we have brought soldiers from Ukraine to Berlin event Cafe Kiev, the biggest German-Ukrainian conference, annual one. And there were people from Rubizh, Maxim, there was a person from Azov, Sergej Rodchuk, a former prisoner of war in Russian captivity who has survived the hell of Russian prison camps. And there was Alina Sarnatska, a veteran of 207 Territorial Defense Battalion. And each single unit which we have brought to Berlin was of exceptional quality. And these are people who have the experience, who can explain you exactly what you need to know, who can talk to any German officer up to colonel or major general, and the knowledge which Ukrainian sergeant or lieutenant or captain transfers to this head of this colonel or major general is of that quality that this colonel or major general needs days to digest this knowledge. That's why we work with Rubizh.
Sergey, I'm so pleased to have you as a friend, actually, because not only we have a lot in common in terms of the European Resilience and Initiative Center and what we do with the Propaganda Study Institute, but also because you literally helped my guys, and it's almost my honor to do this, because even though I am retired, well, in reserve, but still the fight goes on, and we have to do whatever we can with whatever we have. And Max, I have a question for you, which is a similar question. And my dear viewers, in Ukrainian army, we have this kind of tradition or feature. When we talk about other brigades, we never say that, for example, our unit is the best comparing to others, because it's not really proper to say so in a military. We prefer to prove it by what we do and things like that. But let's remove it. Okay, let's cancel this option. And just from your personal opinion, because you serve in the brigade where I served since the foundation of its very first infantry company, what makes our legendary 4th Operative Brigade of HOSTOMEL, called Rubizh, different from others, in your very, very personal opinion?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say that's the truth, because like I'm not really happy to say that we are the best of the best, because we are fighting together, shoulder to shoulder with the other guys, and I didn't see bad brigades at the trenches. I see only heroes. It doesn't matter what patch they're wearing from the other brigade. But what I can say about Rubizh, and here I will say, like, civil guy that had no any connection to army before, and I appeared in brigade in Rubizh, and what I have found there, because I'm the guy pretty old one. I'm pretty successful in a business, and I have already certain mindset that is already, and I have vision how I do things, how I like them to set up, and all my crazy ideas about what we can do in brigade, even with creating FPV teams and etc etc etc, was absolutely supported by the command. And that was for me a big surprise, because what I see in this brigade, when I was just appeared as civil guy, I had no even clue what these things, were about. All these majors, captains. I didn't know that there is, this certain subordination, that you cannot just enter to the cabinet of the commander with crazy idea and say something. But everybody was um, supporting me, and basically they created me and they pushed me to do more, to do as much as I can to create a result. So what I'm seeing within the brigade, that the leadership is pretty young, very professional, and these guys want, and then they're looking for, they hunger for technologies, they hunger for development, they have a hunger to become better. And it's not just because that the leadership is doing like this. It's starting from the middle officer, from the sergeant. They are always trying to find some solutions. Like, during my working week, I can meet lots of teams. They have some ideas, they want to try something, they need help to do something, to do other things. So the ecosystem inside of the brigade is so professionally built, and all my business visions, my business experience, how to build the systems with the supplies, with the international cooperation, I just did it like in a good modern office, like I was doing in Hoffman La Roche, like I was doing in Samsung or American Chamber of Commerce. So that I was surprised completely that when I'm sharing my experience with brigade with the others, with the other guys, like, oh, we're doing this, we're practicing that, we're testing some things with the companies, we're going that, we're training our soldiers like this. Everybody in shock. They're saying, like how it is possible. It's just, we cannot do this what you're doing, because there are some rules, there is some subordination, though somebody doesn't want to take responsibility. I cannot say about my high leadership that they are afraid to take responsibility on themselves. We were doing crazy things, I mean, good, in good terms, crazy things, to develop brigade. And support was in any stage, even though maybe some military guys were not so, aware about the business approach, the business style of things. However, they gave me completely green light. And as a result of this type of management of the brigade, we did amazing results in the battlefield. Like 22nd, these things. I mean, you know even Andrew better than me. Then the first helicopter shot down, Rubizh was in charge, because the guys were brave enough to start fighting. Um, Rubizh, amazing operation. And it's and what we always analyzing, like brigade commander, every operation is analyzed, briefed. People know what they're doing and they know they will be covered and everything. Like if we can summarize with one word of what is about the brigade Rubizh is human-centered, I would say, and this is really important. Human-centric approach, this is the key and major motto of this brigade. We are not trying to use our soldiers. We are keeping them, we are training them, and we are treating them as a professionals. And moreover, basically, maybe we are one of the few brigades that have implemented NATO standards at the battlefield in a big scale war. And we found out what was working, what was not. We have modified, adopt, and moving. And that's what is amazing about this brigade. They are moving, and we are moving, and we are adopting this war. We're not trying, to use old-fashioned things. We see, okay, drones works better. Okay, we're creating teams. Even though if we don't have official agree that we have some some quantity of people, quantity of units settled by some form. Okay, let's try this. If this works, we then develop. So basically, brigade is really moving forward, very developing and modern. This is what I would say. Like what I like about the brigade Rubizh, it's a modern brigade that having a human-centric approach.
My dear friends and dear viewers, this is a good example of what happens when a professional from a business field goes to army and does something extremely important and useful. Unfortunately, if we're talking about the current United States administration, it's not the case. But it's possible. It's possible. Same here, by the way, because I was a civilian until 2014. Basically, I worked in the communications. We have a lot in common with Max, by the way, because we both worked in public relations, in communications, in media relations. That's our stuff. We are very, very familiar with this, and I completely agree with you that the way this brigade was built, actually, this influenced my choice as well. When I was looking for a military brigade to join, I served in the Special Force Police Battalion, and I joined this brigade for several reasons. One of them was that we implemented the troops leading process that was literally snatched from our NATO colleagues. We implemented the headquarters, the staff system used in the NATO countries, and basically it worked. My biggest deployments in Svetlodarsk Bulge, 2017, 2018, 2020, those actually showed that it worked, and it worked really well. Because Russians back then, they were extremely surprised to see us there. Some of them saw us for the last time in their lives. But before we start answering questions in the chat, and dear viewers, please ask your questions there to our guests. Please ask anything you want to know. I would like to ask several more questions for you, Sergej. I know that besides volunteering, you're also running a European Resilience Initiative Center. Can you tell us more about this organization that is based in Berlin, in Germany? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And first of all, I want to totally agree to what Maxim has just said. The Ukrainian army is extremely innovative, creative, and acts like a startup, which is actually is, because the most professional soldiers, unfortunately, who were in the Ukrainian army during the February 22, they are not alive anymore. They won time with their lives. They have sacrificed their lives to help Ukraine to regroup, and then all the volunteers came, like Maxim, who joined practically the army in the first day, but who joined it as a civilian first. And other people who we all know, they all were civilians. They were engineers, web designers, artists, sociologists, lawyers, etc. You know them all. Some of them also are not alive anymore, and some of them have made their careers in the army because they were so successful with their knowledge, and they could reorganize their units. The people like who we bring drones to the 47th Brigade, they were all IT students or young IT graduates in February 22, and that's why they're so incredibly successful. And I always tell my German colleagues, look, if our German, when they ask me, can we implement Ukrainian experience in drones warfare in Germany? I say theoretically yes, on the level of, let me say, using of drones in combined warfare. Yes, of course, that's what we need to do. But on practical level, how it works in Ukraine, just imagine the workshops where the Ukrainian soldiers create drones as weapons, kamikaze. They get like the drone and they install this bomb or explosive device under this bomb. They are mostly all IEDs, improvised explosive devices. They have their 3D printers which print it, or they use RPG grenades and then install this explosive initiation plates, and I would say that is forbidden in Germany. It's not forbidden. It's like it's a criminal offense if a soldier in Germany would ever come to idea to produce own-produced explosive device, to use it in combination with unlicensed drone flying like unmanned aerial vehicle. He will be arrested within 1 hour because his own comrades will call the military police, and he will get several years in jail for producing unlicensed, not certified types of weapons. But that's how Ukrainian army survives, and that's how the Ukrainian soldiers who raise donations, they do it in their private time. They publish videos, they make calls, they cooperate with charities, they run their bank accounts where they accumulate money and buy parts, etc. It's all unthinkable in Germany, but all these people, they're not professional soldiers. They came from economy, from creative industry, from universities. They don't know what does it mean. Oh, I don't do it because I don't have a permission from my boss. No, they do it because they know their life and life of their comrades depends on how fast they are, and they know if they continue waiting for the permission, the Russians will kill them, and that's not what they want to have. So that's why I'm deeply impressed by what Ukrainians do, and highly recommend to everyone who thinks about transferring Ukrainian experience to Europe or to the United States, to think about transferring the whole idea, the whole ecosystem of thinking, of creating informal networks, etc. And to your question about the European Resilience Initiative Center, the ERIC institution, well, I came to Germany back after 6 years working in Berlin for the in Kiev for the Heinrich Böll Foundation. I came back in September 21. And for me, it was already clear that Russia is preparing a huge war. The first preparation started in April, May 21. That was this rehearsal practically, when Russia has accumulated a lot of troops along the border, and then they have realized they need Belarus to attack Ukraine, so they left equipment accumulated along the border and came back. So I started to prepare what I thought is needed to mobilize Germany's political elite for support of Ukraine. And I started to run circles around my friends from the Green Party, this person, another person, this deputy, another deputy, and the Greens have just entered the government in Germany, the so-called traffic light coalition. And then I realized it doesn't work. Yes, they were all pro-Ukraine, and they said, yeah, we need to support Ukraine, but said, don't be so active, don't push for weapons, because Scholz doesn't want it, and we don't want to make Scholz angry, and we need to do that and that. And somewhere in summer 22, when I saw with shock how Germany back then sticks into speeches and talks about Zeitenwende, the epochal change, but no Leopards, no Marder IFVs, then maybe some artillery pieces, but not that much, please. And then I thought, okay, I need to have my own vehicle to I'm sorry, it's a spring allergy.
It's true. It's true.
To have my own vehicle to address the media, to address the political landscape, etc. And I founded Eric just because I wanted to have an institution, because we in Germany, we love institutions. You cannot be expert. You need to be a director of something. And I said, okay, you want me to be a director? I will be a director. And I founded this institution. And then I thought back then, okay, I will be maybe alone, maybe with my business partner who will help me. But then people started to see what we do and said, can we be a fellow? Can I be a fellow? Can I cooperate with you? I want to write an article for you. I want to have that and that and that. And by early 23, we were already organizing international events and publishing reports and making consultancy services for German groups and for Ukrainian groups, bringing people together. And then I thought, gosh, that is so much better than anything I have done before in my life, because working in like a classical German state-conform institution like foundation, you always need to think, oh, that is what I experienced all my time while working in Kyiv. They always told me, oh, we have an office in Moscow. You cannot criticize Moscow because they will close our office. And I told you, no, you don't understand. They will close your office exactly in the moment when they will decide to do it. And they don't need a justification for that. They will just close you. What has happened after all? But then you get that what we in Germany call a Maulkorb, that is that corb, this net, and you have for your dog so it doesn't bark. So you get this Maulkorb when you work for a large German institution, and you cannot do what you really want to do when you see that the development in Russia against Ukraine is dangerous. They will attack. We need to act. And that's why I founded European Resilience Initiative Center. We're a Germany recognized charitable organization. So if you donate, you get your tax deduction document. We may bring equipment to Ukraine according to our statute. We may distribute it in Ukraine. That is what we do. That is what I do 24/7. Tomorrow morning, I will go to the area of Pokrovsk, bringing drones to 505 Marine Battalion. And now we have this campaign, links in the description of this video. Please donate to raise 1,000 drones for Rubizh and help Rubizh to save lives.
Thank you so much. I think we can switch to some of the questions and comments. Cheryl says that only fiber optic factory in Russia destroyed by drones last night, which, by the way, I can confirm because coming from the updates, approximately 20 explosions were heard yesterday in the area of this place on the territory of Russia, which I'm not sure. I think it's a result of, like reckless smoking. Russians never learn. They just keep smoking in the wrong areas all the time. We have another one. Nine Moon Planet asks, what do you or your guests think about the new Prime Minister of Canada? He may kick up the support, which personally I believe this man, from what I've read about him, of course he's facing, and as well as his nation right now is facing some of the biggest challenges probably after the World War II, but I really hope that Canada will keep supporting Ukraine in the future, especially the Prime Minister of Canada, because not only there is such a huge diaspora of Ukrainians in this amazing country, but also because generally Canadians were always on the right side of the barricades, right, on the proper side of the barricades. Guys, do you have anything to add to this? Sergej, Max?
I'm not an expert in Canada, but I think that for any political leader of every country, now the real question comes: what can I do to make my country being able to defend itself and the allies in a case when the military alliances we thought are unshakable and reliable do not work anymore? Like you're a Canadian prime minister or a Polish president or Germany's chancellor or a president of Estonia, you need to ask a question. And many in the Central Europe, they have asked this question years before, but in Western Europe and in Western Hemisphere, not that much. What will happen if I am under attack and nobody from my military alliance members will come to help? That is what we believed was unthinkable. And I remember, as I still was working at the Heinrich Böll Foundation, I had a talk with my supervisor like weeks before I left my office. And as I said, when Russia attacks the Baltic countries, Germany will not come to help. Then he looked at me and said, "Oh, Sergey, you don't understand. You're like you're not like from Germany. You speak German. You're German citizen, but you're not from Germany. You don't understand our responsibility for the European security." And I said, no, I understand it. I understand it. And don't tell me that German chancellor will send troops to Estonia to kill Russian soldiers. And this understanding that nobody will help me, what should I do? Should I do you remember this Jesus Christ superstar son of Maria Magdalena? What should I do? How should I act towards him? Should I sin and shout? Should I sin of love? What should I do? Should I invest in nukes? Should I invest in my army? Should I create National Guard? Should I train my school children? Should I reinstall conscription? What should I do? And time is pushing, and many politicians who never asked them their questions are now facing the necessity to bring the answer as soon as possible on the table. And that's the last what I want to say before I wrap up. I'm so proud that our citizens, our compatriots in Germany, are so much more progressive and active and willing to help than our government was all these years. Because we got so many donations from the German citizens from the very beginning of this full-scale invasion, who said, just take my money. I'm sorry that I voted for the Social Democrats. I'm sorry for that I have denied the danger. Here, take my money and do whatever is needed to support Ukraine, to help Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Max, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I will add, this one thing that the hard times are coming, and I would like to wish Mr. Carney a good luck, because he has to be strong. He has to be a strong leader because I personally believe in Canada, and Canada was always supporting Ukraine despite who will be the leader. However, right now, Canada is got to think about how to become on their own, because that the big change in this installed ecosystem that was built after Second World War is changing, and Canada should be strong. And I believe in this guy. Everything what I've read is that he's tough, and I think like it is hard to predict anything what will happen next, because the horizon of planning nowadays are 3 hours ahead. So, however, I wish Mr. Carney luck, because he needs it. He needs it because he has very hard neighbor that is trying to to be loud and and strong. However, in my point of view, it is necessary right now to show this strength, not to Canada. It is important to show this strength to the other camp, because they need to build in alliances. That will be the biggest strength of the Western civilization, where I think that Ukraine is a big part, because right now we are the army of European Union. We are the guys who are protecting European Union and the values. So I wish him luck, and I think he will be wise enough to find the way how to settle these things with United States and still directing Canada to prosperity and development. So this is the only thing. Good luck, Mr. Carney.
Absolutely. I will join this wish on your behalf. Not only Canada will need luck, but all other countries that are now facing the tariff war, and especially those poor penguins that live on those two tiny islands in the in the ocean. Unfortunately, there's nobody to speak for them, because they will also have to now face those tariff wars. No idea how it will end for them, but I really, really hope that nothing bad will happen, because they're penguins, right? They don't care. So we have another question. As Ukraine is manufacturing most drones, what components are the most needed? There is manufacturing capacity in the West, which could reduce bottlenecks. And I think that you guys, you both can answer this question. Sergej, let's start with you.
Well, practically, the drone is something which, by its design, should not be able to fly. It's a flying iron. It doesn't have any aerodynamic. It is heavy. Like a battery on the top is 2 kilogram, and like it's unstable. And there are these small rotors which are rotating. And when you stay next to the drone, you feel the whole pressure of the air, because these rotors are so powerful. They push so much air to let this non-aerodynamic terrible thing to fly. And practically drone consists out of several very simple components. You have the frame, you have a processor with flight controller, you have a transmitter, signal transmitter, you have camera, and you have motors and rotors. That's it. Antenna on the tail. So it's very simple. That is the trick, because the device is nothing but a decade-old toy for flying. That's why the first drones, they were sold in sport or in electric toys shops, like it was like a hobby. And now we come to an interesting thing. On one hand, because the components are so simple, maybe except for the camera, the components are so simple, you cannot stop practically the inflow of these components, because the microchips are very simple and very broadly spread. But even them, you need to produce that. So now we have the Ukraine started to produce a lot, but now we have the crucial moment that the chips are coming from either China or Taiwan or the United States. And now think, if we say very openly that this war will only expand independently, unfortunately, on the fact if Ukraine defeats Russia or not. If Ukraine defeats, it will expand in a lesser scale, if not in a larger scale, but it will expand. And guess, will China be our ally or not? Of course, it will not be our ally. And then imagine when China stops completely export of all crucial components just to drain our economies. And imagine if China takes Taiwan, which is also possible, or destroys with a strike Taiwanese chip manufacturers. We have only the United States as a producer. And now think, can you rely on the US now as on a producer of crucial military components or not? That's why I always tell to my German colleagues, we must look very precisely what components you need for a drone. You need chips, you need cameras, and you need electric motors. Because practically the frame you can produce out of different materials. But without these three components, you cannot fly. And your drone's production can stack on very simple things. For example, each motor has copper wire inside. Do you have enough copper wire in Europe to produce all these motors? If Ukraine produces 5 million drones a year, this means Ukraine needs 5 multiplied by 4 at least, 20 million electric motors just for rotating rotors. 20 million. Do you have enough copper for that? Do you have enough production capacities? That is the question. It's everything good to know, like, okay, we will have like our software to make our drones so efficient, etc. But you need a lot of materials. And each drone, which is kamikaze drone, flies only once. Successfully or not, it doesn't return. Because once equipped with the bomb, it is armed. It cannot come back to you. Okay, if it comes, you are practically in a very bad situation. So if you fly a drone, you lose a drone. And that means that all this production is single-way production, including batteries, by the way.
Yeah, that is crazy. Max, can you add something to this?
Yeah, thing is, the key of the successful drone manufacturing is basically changing China's suppliers to Europeans, Americans, doesn't matter, but reliable partners. Because Sergej here is absolutely correct, because printed boards are the keys, because we need to find the way how to settle a good manufacturing process, and not just one single. It could be done in lots of countries, but we need to start doing this. It is really important to have possibility to produce motors, to produce chips, to produce printed boards, controllers and cameras on the ground in Europe, in the States, in Canada. I mean, in the camp of Western civilization, because once the war scaling, China is not going to be our friend, and that's obvious, and we can see it, and it's not very covered. Yeah, because we are facing Northern Korean soldiers in the battlefield, and this is only the start. So I would say it is really important, because Ukraine right now is working on that. We had already practiced to use 100% manufactured drone in Ukraine. However, it is so small quantities that we are having in our reliability, in our possibility to use, that it's just simply not enough. And the countries that are really thinking about the defense, like you, first of all, yeah, like Lithuania, Estonia, and then the countries that are actually have borders. That's important to start think of proper full cycle manufacturing in Europe. That will be really important because I've had lots of discussions with the different high officials and representatives of the big foundations, and we were discussing these things about the development, these things in Ukraine and Ukraine and Europe, and then test it here with our brigade and use them at the battlefront. It is very big cycle with pretty not difficult manufacturing process, because we have managed to do it in Ukraine, and I believe that scaling it in Europe it will be possible. But it is crucial, because if the war scales, what your soldiers will face, there will be the Russian drones fully equipped by Chinese parts. Do you have an answer on that? That's a big question. And this is really important to not just even think about it right now. We need to start making those manufacturing.
I absolutely.
And it is possible. That's really important. That lots of European countries would say like, oh, it is impossible. They will be very cheap. They will be very expensive. Sorry. However, we have already a supply of 100 drones. 100% done in Ukraine, starting from frame, ending up with the camera. It is a little bit more expensive that we can find from the Chinese part drones, but it's not very big quantity, not very big amount of money change. So it is really possible.
Yeah, absolutely. In case this war comes to other countries, and we know that Russians are planning to do this because Russians want to reunite old ex-Soviet territories back to the terrorist federation. If this war comes to other countries, this is something that people should be prepared, because most probably they won't see such artillery barrages as we have seen in 2022 and 23, but they will see massive drone attacks, and they will see a lot of sabotage and, of course, informational warfare happening in their countries shortly before this war even starts. We have a different question from Kaltenberg. Did Ukraine retain old Soviet unit numbers? Actually, no. Actually, from what I remember, Max, correct me if I'm wrong, but as soon as Ukraine became independent, we changed the old Soviet unit numbers and old Soviet unit names into a different ones. For example, my father served in Chapaevskaya division, tank division in Chernihiv, which of course would not be called Chapaevskaya because Chapaev was a Bolshevik, like mythological hero, right? But we changed it to 1st Siversk Brigade, and this is how it's known nowadays. Why aren't more Ukrainian veterans streaming? I can't think of anyone but you. Language barrier. Well, I think it's because of the language barrier. That could be one of the reasons. There is, for example, Roman Break Trochimets. He also makes videos, and he did make videos. I think language is probably the biggest barrier. That is reason number one. And this channel gained so much followers literally because when the war began, I was among few Ukrainian officers who could speak English and let the international community know what is happening in Ukraine. Not because my channel was so good, not because I was making amazing videos. No, it's literally because of language, and because this channel was among the few sources of information coming from Ukraine. I'm really happy that nowadays we have a lot of them. But another reason why not many Ukrainian military are blogging nowadays is probably because there are press officers, and it's up to the command to decide or to assign a press officer who can do this like internationally. Generally speaking, again, why army is different from a civilian organization is because in civilian organization you have full freedom, right? In the army there are specially assigned people, people who do things in this or that field. If there is an English-speaking press officer in the headquarters of the National Guard, for example, he can stream and make videos speaking English. This is his thing. Or, for example, if it's an officer in the international department, the Department of the International Relations of the National Guard or Armed Forces of Ukraine, this is their thing. So even from this standpoint, it wasn't really correct for me as a press officer of a 4th Operative Brigade to stream internationally and talk about what happens in Ukraine on a global scale. So just so you, to share a small secret with you, I asked the command of the National Guard if I can do that, and they said, well, you are an experienced press officer, you can do that, whatever you think is okay. Even from this standpoint, to me personally, it's a great case of communication within the National Guard, which is so progressive comparing to other, not really good to compare to others, but even comparing to others, it's a good case of communication within a military force in Ukraine. I think you don't see that often. We have another interesting question for you, Max. Sarah wants to know, I'd like to know more about Maxim's background. What is his business? Max, can you tell us a bit more about yourself in detail?
Yeah, a little bit CV from my side. So I started my career as a general specialist in the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade of Ukraine. I have finished National Taras Shevchenko University in 2010 as the master degree of international law. So how funny is that? Which is not working anymore. That's why I'm in the army. So then I was running a free trade agreements for Ukraine for 5 years and ended up as the deputy director of the department, of the unit of the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. We were working with the World Trade Organization, WTO. Then American Chamber of Commerce have hunted me. They offered me to become an executive director of one of their committees, and it ended up as the healthcare committee. So I was representing interests of the big companies within the Ukrainian government. So basically here where I started my career of government relations specialist, manager, that is trying to lobby some initiatives to change Ukrainian legislation, to move this legislation closer to European one, and to bring some new practices that the big business can offer. From that, I have changed to the Hoffman Laroche. It's a big healthcare company. I'm representing their interest for like almost 4 years. And then I ended up in the Samsung because in Roche I understood that I want to work with innovation. So basically I want to be the guy who represents innovation in doesn't matter sphere, but that will bring more interesting things, helpful things to Ukrainian society. Because in Roche I participated in the healthcare legislation change. Basically, we pushed lots of very good ideas and initiatives in Ukrainian healthcare legislation. And Samsung, for me, was a choice because they are absolutely connected to the innovation. They do innovate, they bring new technologies to the world. and I started representing their interest as the government relations manager. So almost entire 10 years, I'm top manager of the big business, representing interests of big companies like Hoffmann Roche in healthcare and Samsung in as IT, informational communication technologies.
That is an incredible story, my friend.
Yeah, sorry, and the little thing, you know, when I was joining the army, and my wife said, like, yeah, but remember, you told that you're gonna work only in the companies that innovate, to bring innovation to the society. This was your like business goal and mission. And how surprised I was about the brigade, that basically the one who likes innovations and they're very open to innovations. And we were one of the earliest ones in the National Guard that's starting to fly with the drones, to use them massively. And I was happy to become a part, you know, this of bringing technology, bringing knowledges, bringing some things that made these guys much more capable. And, you know, I'm saying right now to my wife that, you know, I'm still working in the place where the innovation matters.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those amazing stories, my friends, because in the National Guard and generally among Ukrainian defenders, you can see majority of volunteers. Myself, even though I served almost 10 years, but I came to the army as a volunteer when my country needed it. And it's so interesting to see when civilian people from managers to specialists with different views but extremely huge background and experience, when they implement all of their ideas in the army, in the military force, in a military unit, and it brings amazing results. This is something that probably we will read in the books of history, like maybe in the future. We have another comment from First Last, just saying invest in Rheinmetall. And I totally agree on this one. Sergej, from your standpoint, as a person who lives in Germany for a while and has a lot of different friends and acquaintances and connections, how much does the population of Germany realize the Russian threat, in your personal opinion?
Oh, that's a tricky question, and thank you so much for this. That is very volatile. First, before the full-scale invasion, almost nobody in Germany believed in the chance that Russia will dare to full-scale attack Ukraine, despite the very real fact that Russia has full-scale attacked Ukraine in 2014. First annexing Crimea, then using like terrorist groups and special operation groups in Donetsk and Luhansk, and then sending troops, like real troops, over the border. And we remember there were Russian soldiers from the airborne brigades being captured as prisoners of war in Ukraine in 2014. I don't speak about like all the equipment which Russia has transferred to Ukraine, military equipment, artillery, shells, tanks, and. So Russia has full-scale attacked Ukraine in 2014. It hasn't just attacked every single square meter of Ukraine, but it was a full-scale invasion. And still in Germany, nobody believed in that until the very day when it happened. And it was shock for many people. And the bad thing was that those who got their salaries in think tanks, in ministerial positions, military intelligence, etc., they were shocked. And many of them have never said, "Okay, I'm incapable for this job. I need to quit." But people who actually didn't, they were not those who were paid for it. The average people, they said, "Oh my God, what has happened? I need to repay my debts." That's why Germans donate so much. And the first survey of Germany's view on the, or the Germans' view on the threat from Russia was made by Munich Security Conference end of 22. It was already after Bucha was revealed, and the siege of Mariupol has ended in this total destruction of the city. And other Russian atrocities were known: mass rape, execution of prisoners of war, all these phone calls of soldiers to their mothers and wives and friends, bragging about how many Ukrainians they have tortured, raped, killed. Russia jumped in this survey of Munich Security Conference about threats perception from, if I'm not mistaken, from the position 22 to position 1, surpassing all standard German fears: inflation, poverty, terrorism, environmental problem, uncontrolled migration, like typical fears of a typical German person. And Russia jumped on place 1 with, if I'm not mistaken, 89 or 87% of the Germans said Russia is a threat. But that was autumn 22, and already in autumn 23, this threat perception reduced by 7 or 8 points. Positions, not points, positions. And that was, I think, the result of this lullabying policy of Chancellor Scholz. And you're saying, yeah, like now there is nothing new in the East Front. The front line has stuck, no development. The Ukrainian Kherson offensive or summer offensive has failed. We need to talk again. And from that time, there was a clear division between those Germans who were absolutely pro-Ukrainian and said more weapons, more ammunition, send Taurus for God's sake, and those who said it is impossible to win this war, let us start negotiation, which practically we can divide it into groups. One group, they just want Russia to win, but they don't. They are afraid to say so openly. And another group are just naive, brainwashed people who really believe that every single war in the world can end with a negotiation. Okay, imagine you negotiate with Adolf Hitler or Heinrich Himmler and say, wow, maybe you kill Jews in Auschwitz, not every day, but just 2 days per week. And we set some sort of a benchmark. You may not kill more than 1,000 Jews a week, but 1,000 is a reasonable compromise. It is in alliance with Germany's security interests. Or maybe you don't take the whole Poland, just several regions, etc. Bullshit. So now we know that in the service of the German people, we have about 70% who say we need to support Ukraine. From this 70%, you have about 50% points who says as we support now, and 25 who say, or 20 who say we need support more. But not every single person of this group says, and I think Russia is a danger for me. Because people used to believe in NATO, Russia will not dare, they don't go that far, etc. I think that one thing in Trump's victory and these weird actions, which can be seen as good, is that people stop thinking their security is granted. Russia will not attack us because we have America, we have NATO, they will protect us. No, Trump will not protect you. And I think that is a good thing, because with Biden administration, there was this illusion that the US will go full in against Russia if Russia, let me say, dares to do something in the Baltic countries. I don't believe so. I think Biden's goal was never to militarily defeat Russia. It was maybe not to let Russia win too much, but never to militarily defeat Russia. Okay, Trump's goal is obviously to let Russia win, which is many steps forward. But Biden's goal was never to make Ukraine win. And but in Germany, there was this illusion that America under Biden or under Harris will go full in if we got attacked. No, they won't. And now the sovereign time has arrived, and the question is our lever strong enough after these years and years of drinking unlimitedly from this beer tap of illusion? We are safe and secured, and can we regain our athletic form as European countries as fast as possible? Because we are now in pretty bad situation. We are alone against Russia. Our only ally is Ukraine, a very strong ally, I need to say. But what will happen if China will start to openly harass us? Not just cable cutting, but real harassing, sabotage actions, seizing our vessels, etc. And what will happen if that development which we see, which we witness in the US, will go further? If the autocratic tendencies in the Trump administration will only grow. We have seen it in Russia, we have seen it in Germany back then, we have seen many countries in Hungary, etc. What if the insanity of this development will grow up that much? And we have seen already a lot of insane things, which we thought it's not possible. It's possible now. And some groups, at least in the US, will act hostilely against Europe. What will we do? Will we be able to survive? I'm not sure.
I am sure that we will be able to survive because, I believe in decent people, and I may sound optimistic, but I believe that there are more decent people out there than there are criminals, of course. And the biggest confirmation of this fact is the fact that Ukraine stopped Russia, that Ukraine keeps in the fight, still stays in the fight even after 3 years, even though it was supposed to collapse in 3 days. And I believe that Russia can be destroyed because history likes to repeat itself. And, First World War, Second World War, there were always situations when things looked absolutely hopeless, and there were also idiots and different freaks in the Western countries that were marching the streets, calling to negotiate with Hitler, and other ridiculous things. There were those magnates, those tycoons building cars, by the way, also calling to negotiate with Hitler. Henry Ford, for example, was a big oppositionist in terms of fighting against the Nazi Germany and things like that. History literally repeats itself. And, another fact is that Putin admires Nazi Germany. Putin literally snatches a lot of ideas. Dugin also admires Nazi Germany. He snatched a lot of his ideas. Dugin, by the way, when he was young and he was like only starting his ideological path, if we can call it this way, in Russia, he was a member of absolutely amazing underground subcultural group that would unite all kinds of, philosophers in Russia and things like that. Amazing group called Black Order of SS. Actually, Dugin's father was in Gruga Shah. He was an officer, that is according to rumors, and he had access to the archives of the KGB, and he would spend literally days reading the works and memoirs of Nazi Germans. So they snatched a lot of Nazi ideas for their fascist war in Ukraine. But the fact is, Nazi Germany lost, Hitler lost. And what they do now is they're snatching the ideas that were used by losers. They endorse the side that lost the war. So even from this standpoint, we can easily see how it will end. But unfortunately, of course, it will take a lot of time, effort, blood, and tears and sweat. But let's return to our questions. We have several more, and I think we will be calling it a day because I don't really want to hold our dear viewers for much longer as 2 hours. This one is really interesting. Do you think it's possible to set up a volunteer company in collaboration with Ukraine army to build drones in other countries? And the similar question comes from Mick Riley. By the way, I hope that you are recovering well after your little surgery. Maybe a good idea US to farm, maybe good idea for us to farm 3D printing to people at home with the time on their hands. So basically, if there is somebody with a 3D printer at home, if those people can be united into some sort of a network to literally build parts for the drones when they have spare time, does it look realistic and logical? And if yes or no, please explain this. Max, maybe you can do it.
Yes, I can do it. Why I'm laughing? Because, like this is about the innovation. A thing is that in Ukraine, starting from the 2022, we have 3D print army. It's initiative that is running, and all the guys in Ukraine who have a 3D printer at home, in the office, they created basically a chat, just chat, WhatsApp chat or some the other app, and the guys just having the asks from the army, and we cooperate with them very much. For example, if we need some spare parts, because we as well, we have the center in excellence in brigade of the drones, and we do some modifications, I would say, that we adopt them to the specific missions that we are doing right now at the battlefield. And we ask these guys, and we have the 24 hours to a week, it depends on quantities we are asking, and we receiving via post office the things we need, and it works. And coming back to to this discussion about this other Europe ready or not, I was a pretty big pessimist before the war. I was thinking that Ukraine is not that good society, and it's all this like local hater. How I was surprised in the 22nd, people are really amazing. People are doing so unbelievable things, and I'm absolutely supporting you, Andrei. I'm absolutely optimistic about European people, because I believe that in Europe we have amazing people, and they will stand when the time will be needed. Unfortunately, that would be good if we would be better prepared. But you can do this, and this is the 3D army, printed army that we have in Ukraine. It's just civil people that are united in a chat, and they supporting army with amazing quantities of parts. It's like a factory. It's a factory without a single place, but every 3D printed part is sending to one center, and then we collect everything. So this is a result of that. The people are amazing. We already doing this for 5 years. And it works, and it works flawlessly.
This is amazing. You know what we need to do? Even like show some kind of initiative and connect with those guys. I believe I would probably do that. Connect with those guys and try to somehow somehow promote how other people can join, because imagine this: a lot of people around the world have 3D printers, and especially in Europe, and they can literally print parts for Ukrainian drones, send them massively to Ukraine, but they don't know whom to call, they don't know like whom to contact regarding this. They don't have any contact. I think that we can also do something like that. It's an incredibly cool idea. I will write it down right now. And we have several more questions, or rather comments from Sarah. It never ceases to amaze me how much Ukrainians have used the internet to raise funds from all over the world. You know, it's not like we raised donations or something like that, or raised fundraisers or launched fundraisers. The fact is, the initiative came from the world. In my personal opinion, Ukrainians were fundraising for different needs for Ukrainian army since 2014, actually. The volunteers, as we call them in Ukraine, volontery, the volunteers are the guys all military love and admire and endorse tremendously, because those guys were bringing us heaters to the front line. They were bringing us shoes. They were bringing us warm clothes. In 2015, when I served in the Special Force Police Battalion, like first several months of my service, my salary was something around $90 a month, just so you could understand. And the reason for that was because Ukrainian dictator Yanukovych, before he fled to Russia, he also put the annual budget of Ukraine in his pocket. So we could not really provide for the servicemen, and even despite that, thousands of Ukrainian volunteers got recruited to police and army, and they kept fighting despite that, even though we had families and everything else. $90 a month. So it wasn't a good motivation, but the best motivation was that we didn't want the war to go all the way from Donetsk and Luhansk to Kyiv, Ivano-Frankivsk, and Ternopil. We didn't really want that, so that's why we volunteered and went there. The full-scale Russian invasion started, and we saw this enormous initiative coming from the decent people around the world, because I wasn't really looking for viewers. Literally, I was making videos hoping that like couple hundred people will see that, and maybe it will be useful for them. But people started massively writing commentaries asking, how can we help, guys? We see you fighting there in Ukraine. We see that you guys are brave, that you're courageous, that you're not giving up, as like Douglas McGregor was saying, Tucker Carlson and everybody else. You're not giving up. We're rooting for you guys. We're standing for you. How can we help? So the main initiative came from you guys. The main initiative came from the decent people of the world. And it still keeps surprising me, just, you know, how dedicated and how brave those people are around the world. I myself, just like Max, I was highly pessimistic not only about Ukraine prior to 2013, but after 2013 I was highly pessimistic towards Europe, towards the United States, but after 2022 I take my words back. Guys, you taught us a lot, actually, and I learned a lot from you, and I will always be grateful to you for that. And all Ukrainian people will always be grateful for your support, your help, and your decency. And we have, I think, a couple more questions. Probably the last one, the commentary, and I will also have a couple of questions for you guys before we call it a day. Anita K says, coincidentally, I ordered food, even sushi, a minute before I spotted the stream. Goes really well together with Starsky. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence because we always talk about food on this channel. Actually, I have, like, before the stream started, I put some rice in the cooker, and after the stream is finished, I will probably have some raw fish with rice myself. So I will support you on this one. Guys, I have a question for you. Starting with Max. What do you consider your biggest motivation? What keeps you going?
My motivation is I want to build good, open, free society for my kid, for my child, because right now I'm feeling my responsibility not only for my career or my land that I own in Makarev. Here in Kiev in 22nd, here in the battlefields, I realize that I'm way more responsible and I have to step up to build the society and to fight for the freedom that my child would never be told somebody how to think, how to say, what to say. I want that my child was living in Ukraine, a part of European Union, the part of the NATO, and would have a possibility to live in a free society, in a freedom that nobody will tell her to do anything. And this is my biggest motivation, because I believe that Ukraine is a part of the Europe. It doesn't matter, are we in European Union or we are at NATO or in any part of organization. That's I think the biggest and the most important thing, the self-identification. I live in a European country, in a free country, in a country that believes in good and evil and choose good. We believe in right and wrong and we choose right. And this is what the thing, that we will be always free and nobody would tell us anything what to do. And I identify myself like this, and I serve, and I know people around me that lives in Kiev, in Lviv, in Luhansk, in Donetsk, all entire the country, up until Portugal. We are European community, we are European society, and we should be free because this is the choice of the population. And that's the biggest motivation, that here, this is really important to protect this thing. I see the biggest evil is coming. The evil is around, autocracy, the evil that is trying to tell everybody in this planet that everybody should do everything what they want to do. But I believe that they're wrong. In 1945, the one guy lost who was thinking like this. And this is important, that, and Ukraine will be, this is the example, the biggest example to all the world, that freedom will not be captured or killed.
Thank you so much. And before I ask the same question to you, Sergej, I have a commentary that I really need to address. Comes from Daughter of Texas. I have people who still believe Azov is still filled with Nazi in the Ukrainian army. How do I help disprove their theory? It's very easy, actually. It's very easy, because if they have this opinion, this belief that Azov is filled with Nazis, then apparently this belief is based on facts. So if they know facts, please ask them just two questions. First question would be, let them name just 3 cases of Azov attacking somebody of a different color or a different religion, some Muslim or some Jew in Ukraine. Just 3 cases. If they can name them, then I agree. Nazi, Azov is Nazi. And second question you can ask them is why does Ukrainian Muslim community and Ukrainian Jewish community support Azov, donate blood for Azov, and provide Azov with all kinds of aid that they can gather? So if those people base their belief on facts, then apparently they should know some of the facts, right? And if they build their belief on the fact that, well, Russian media call them Nazi, well, Russian media call everybody Nazi. To Russians, Americans are Nazi, British are Nazi, French are Nazi, doesn't matter. So I hope that it will be useful for you. Sergey, now, what keeps you going? What is your biggest motivation?
First, I want to add on Azov. Recently, the chief rabbi of Ukraine, and I think that the chief rabbi of Ukraine is someone who can differ a Nazi from not a Nazi, and especially a Nazi from a good, reliable person. The chief rabbi of Ukraine has officially congratulated Azov Brigade, the 12th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, to the anniversary of their creation, and said literally that he calls God's blessing on them and thanks them as the defenders of Ukraine. And I think that in this case, we need to listen to the chief rabbi of Ukraine than to all these people who watch videos of Tucker Carlson and continue running around screaming, "Oh, Azov are so much Nazis." And this is exactly the same level of propaganda campaign from Russia, because Russians call a Nazi every person they want to kill, and every person who is not happy with the idea to be Russified. You don't want to subjugate yourself to Russians' jaw. Okay, you're a Nazi. That was the thing, that the Ukrainians are Nazi. Ukrainian language is the sign of being Nazi. Ukrainian trident is a Nazi symbol. Slava Ukraini is a Nazi slogan. And of course, Azov are Nazis. Why? Because Azov were founded in the Russian-speaking city of Mariupol, which the
Kharkiv.
Russians believed they will take like that. And Mariupol was defended in 2014, and Russians could not take Mariupol despite the fact it was just 30 kilometers from the border. They could not take it. And that's why the Russians hated Azov, because Azov is the quintessence, the symbol of everything what doesn't let Russia to overtake Ukraine. It's bravery, it's creativity, it's the willingness to fight even when the odds are against you. And that is what Russians want to eliminate. I can tell you stories about how Russians, they treat Ukrainian prisoners of war very badly, violating every single convention. But they treat Azov prisoners even worse. They want to exclude Azov prisoners from the protection of the Geneva Convention. They don't treat them as prisoners of war. They treat them as terrorists, as criminals. No single Azov soldier, prisoners of war in Russian camp, was ever allowed to send a letter to Ukraine. They are now in captivity for almost 3 years, those defenders of Azovstal. They were not allowed to send letters to their relatives, to make a call to their relatives. Nobody knows where they get held. They were killed, several dozens of them, or 100, were killed in the camp of Olenivka, burnt alive. And there was no investigation on that. There was a fake investigation of the United Nations who said, "Oh, we cannot count there. That maybe that happened something, but we cannot say." And now we know that those very few prisoners of war from Azov who were returned in exchange, they told stories of being tortured, beaten, kept in cold, underfed. People return home having lost like dozens and dozens of pounds of flesh. They look like Auschwitz survivors. And that's because Russia hates Azov, and they hate Azov because Azov never surrendered. And they surrendered under a command of President Zelensky as the attempt to save the lives, but the Russians have broke the deal, and the Red Cross has never helped to keep these people alive. So that is why Russia spreads disinformation on Azov exactly as they spread disinformation on Ukrainians. And I remember when I, as a German manager in Ukraine of a German foundation, when I started to learn Ukrainian and to talk Ukrainian in international institutions, I also had in 2017, 2018, these raised eyebrows of all these good Western people who are so neutral and so educated and so cultivated. Why you speak Ukrainian? Is the Nazi thing to address a Russian-speaking person in Ukrainian when you're in Ukraine? No. It's not. It's simple. It's simple. It's simple Ukrainian language which Russians try to destroy all these years. And the same stories with Azov. I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it really, your question really is really important, because this propaganda is one of the most efficient and successful weapons of Russia against the free world. Because we don't like Nazis. We hate Nazis. And when they call someone a Nazi, our first instinct reaction is to make distance to that person. Okay, maybe there is something there, maybe. And that is like Russian army, which openly carries swastikas on the insignias of some units like Rubizh. It is Russia where the commander of Rubizh unit openly said in his interview, "I'm a Nazi." And he added, "I don't use euphemisms like nationalist, far right, I'm a Nazi," he said. That's Russia where they openly said they commit crime of medical experiments on prisoners of war until they die. They tell it in their interviews, in their media. They do what Joseph Mengele did in the camps. And they dare to call Nazi people who stood up in their own city, took the arms to protect themselves against an invasion. That is typical Russian propaganda thing. And now I come to the question, what brings me, what gives me power? And I also wanted to say, I don't want that my children grew up in an unfree society, being occupied. I don't want that pretty marvelous German cities get erased and look like cities where Russia comes to look like now. And I even brought my children, when I worked in Ukraine in 2015, 2021, I even brought my children to the city of Slovyansk and Kramatorsk in the east of Ukraine, in Donetsk Oblast, to show my children who were in their primary school. I think it's primary school. They did the first classes, to show them how a city looks like when they were fighting. And now I understand how naive I was. Now it was like very lightly destroyed buildings, like only several buildings were destroyed. But still, I could show my children how it looks like. And I thought it was important for them when they come back to Berlin, also to participate in discussions, saying, "No, I saw it with my own eyes. It's not what you have heard from like some klugscheißer, like some self-proclaimed experts who have never been to neither Russia nor Ukraine, speak no language, but watch some interview at Russia Today." And back then I would say this is my motivation. But now I had a discussion with my good friend, a former colleague, my office manager from the Henrik Böll Foundation, a local Ukrainian person who spent some days under Russian occupation. Thanks God, nothing happened, because Russians were just in transit in her village. And she told me she cannot find, she's so tired of this war. She tries to find source of power in love for her country. He tries to do things out of love for her country. And that's a tricky thing for me, because Ukraine is not my country. I love Ukraine, I solidarize with Ukraine, but I will never be a Ukrainian. I don't even pretend to be one. I don't say I want to be one. I'm not a Ukrainian, and I will never be. So this love is not enough for me personally. I understand very much people like Maxim and others who say love for our country, for our nation, for our kids is what keeps us together. In my case, it's more complicated. I cannot find this source of such powerful thing. And I'm sorry to say it, sometimes it sounds shocking for people. My most reliable source of power is hate. It's just hate. I know very good the motivation of Russian army. I spent years and years of my life in Russia, was socialized as a Russian. And I kept talking and kept warning months and months before the invasion, before the full-scale invasion. They will kill, they will rape, they will create camps, they will deport people. I posted in 2020, I posted on Facebook a post on the day of Ukrainian army, or the Ukrainian defenders, that Ukrainian army is the only barrier between Russian army and the future, where Russian GRU military intelligence will create prison camps in Vinnytsia, Sumy, Kharkiv, and Kiev, will torture people and will deport people from Kherson to Siberia. And people told me, Sergej, are you crazy? Is it your Russophobia talking in you? What GRU, what prison camps in Sumy or Vinnytsia, what deportations to Siberia? Now we know it's all what they do. And I kept talking, but then maybe I know Russia a bit better than you. Maybe I have some knowledge. And now when I see what they do, and they love what they do, they enjoy it, they are proud of it, they never hide it. And I say, my motivation is, it's a very powerful one, is hate. I want them to be beaten so hard that they crawl back on their broken arms and legs, bleeding, and telling this story for the next generations that you don't attack neighbors. I want them to be beaten at least as hard as the German Nazi Reich was beaten in 1944-45. I want them to pass the memory of this legendary defeat, of this exclusively great defeat, massive defeat, from one generation to another, that the slogan "never again" will be a part of their new identity. But for that, they need to suffer. They need to suffer a lot. And that is what I try to help Ukrainians to impose on them. Because without this lesson, there will be no peace in Europe, there will be no peace in the world, and there will be no safety for all people, like these Ukrainian kids who were smashed into pieces deliberately by a Russian cluster bomb, a cluster missile. 9 children, years from 3 to 17, just wiped out. It's just a piece of terror which Russians deliberately, knowingly, and enjoyingly joyfully bring to Ukraine. And I don't know, frankly speaking, I don't know what will be my motivation after this war, after the victory. Because this source of power will be out, and I'm afraid I will not find another one. I don't care, frankly speaking. Because now the only goal, the only objective we need to reach, Russia must be beaten so hard that everyone in the world will know what happens to those bastards who do things like the Russians have done.
Amen, amen, Sergey. I completely agree with you as a Ukrainian, as someone who lost friends, and unfortunately a lot of friends. And I completely agree with you, and I want to underscore one more time that there can be no negotiations with Russians. They must be defeated. Negotiations with Russians are not part of their plan, and you don't punish criminals by negotiating with them. Police doesn't punish criminals like rapists, like murderers, like Russians, basically, with negotiations. They either detain them and try them in a court, or they use their smaller arms to do the job. So 100%, I totally respect you for that. And, in the end, I think that we will evolve to, one way or another, we will evolve to understanding that even when we are motivated by hatred and we use our hatred to move us, right, to keep us running, still we have a purpose, and even this anger has a purpose, which is to protect life, which is to protect security and make sure that our kids, our next generations, live in the secure environment and safe environment, safe from the Russian terrorism. I really, really hope that a lot of people share this opinion, and I hope that even more of people will be sharing it. So, my dear friends, first of all, I would like to say thank you for this stream. Thank you, my dear viewers, my dear family, for watching us today. And guys, maybe there are some words, some finishing words that you would like to say to our dear viewers before we end the stream. Max, let's start with you.
Well, my finishing words was very close to what was Sergej saying, because it is really important. Not even about the hate. I have survived hate. In 22nd, my motivation was hate. I hated them so much because what I've seen in Motyzhin, in Makarev, in Andriivka, it was unbelievable. I didn't believe my eyes. And I know 100% exactly what with whom we are fighting. Actually, the Nazis are Russians, and that's a fact. We cannot do a deal with them. And that's really important to understand for all European society. We have to. It means like we started here in Ukraine, but we have no choice. This is the existential war. If we not beaten them, they will come to your homes. And that's a fact. And this is what I can say, that just to leave you pregnant with this thing, we have no choice. In my mindset, I'm complete pacifist. Me and weapons in the 22nd year was absolutely different things. I don't want to be in army. I want to do business. I want to do innovation. I want to bring something good to society. But I have to fight them. And we all will have to do it. We have no choice. So we should really start thinking all together what we're gonna do with them, not just making a deal. We need to take all resources we have to support Ukraine, because right now we are the one army that is actually created and we are fighting. And now you have to create your army, European army, to make it strong and without any illusions about deals. If we trade Ukraine, the price will be all entire Europe. What will be in the fire? I don't really want it. So I want to leave you pregnant with this idea. It's not a pessimistic one, it's a realistic one. And I want to end this day with still optimistic thing. I really was surprised by Ukrainian people. I was so surprised that I cannot even imagine. Now I believe that simple people can do crazy things. A small story about a little city, Makarev. It was never captured by Russians because of simple people with double barrels. We were holding this city up until main forces came. Russians, with all their tanks, with all these things, they just could not do anything with us because we knew our land with the double barrels, and they could not capture it. With all their entire power and hate to Ukrainians, they just crack their teeth with small city near Kiev. They just could not. And there I seen how simple people do and change the things. And you are absolutely able to change lots of things in your countries. Start asking to your politicians hard questions because it is important. And I believe that European people are amazing. You are 500 millions. You don't have to afraid Russians. They have to afraid. So think about it.
Absolutely. Sergey, do you have anything to say to our viewers before we call it a day?
Yes, absolutely. I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all that you are here. You are not tired from the war. You're supporting Ukraine now. You support Ukraine day by day. Thank you for all your donations, and they saved lives. Just think about it. When you donate money, you give a part of your life because you have earned this money with your time. And there is no resource more precious than time. It will never come back to you. But you spend your time to earn this money and you donate this money to Ukraine to save Ukrainian life. And that is the most amazing thing which I see since the last 3 years, when people who never knew where is Ukraine, what is Ukraine, what is the language, who are these people, they spent hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks of their life supporting Ukraine. That is amazing. That is really amazing. And I think this is exactly the reason why Russia may not win and why Russia will not win. Because they go to this war to do evil things. And we unite to make the world a safe place. And we have the whole history of all this resistance and fighting for the right cause. We have it behind us. The heroes of anti-Nazi movement, underground movement, fighting armies, they are behind us. And we will win. We have, like, it's just a question when and with what price, but we will. So thank you so much. And I think we will have like such raising videos often. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Andrei.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
it's
We gotta continue because I know that Max has frequent updates. Also, you have a lot of insights about what is happening, not only in Germany where you live, but also in Ukraine where you are right now at this moment. So we
and
will
hopefully
have.
next week or in 2 weeks, we will have a chancellor who will finally deliver Taurus to Ukraine.
We'll be
And
hoping.
that
We'll be
would be
looking forward to that.
yeah, that will be a story to discuss. So we will come frequently to this topic, also raising donations for drones of Rubizh. So you will listen a lot about this campaign, and of course you will see results of delivering drones to Rubizh. So meanwhile, feel free to share this link and ask your friends to watch it, to look for explanation why we need it, why Rubizh needs it, why the world needs it. And as soon as we will get enough funds to produce the first drones, you will get an update on what is going on, the delivery, etc. I personally bring drones to the units every time, or almost every time. And tomorrow I go to the 505 Battalion of Marines close to Pokrovsk, bringing them their drones. And of course, I will do it with Rubizh as soon as the first batch will be produced. We'll deliver it personally, and you will see us together, Maxim and me. And I'm not sure like if Andrei will accompany us, but at least he will report from his headquarter, media headquarter, where he runs his amazing campaigns to support Ukraine. Thank you, Andrei, for what you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, my dear friends and my brothers here in the in our virtual studio. And thank you so much, my dear viewers and followers. Thank you everybody who already donated during this stream. Thank you moderators, Ali and Newman and Getty, big thanks. Also, big thanks to all the supporters of Ukraine for what you're doing, because this is the right cause. This is the proper thing to do. By supporting Ukraine, you are supporting your own country and your own safety and security. My dear friends, we'll be calling this a day. Once again, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Be safe. And Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава!
Слава.